After the huge success of Equestria Girls Rainbow Rock, seriously, people are still talking about that movie. Great movie. I love it. But the cliffhanger ending did set up for another movie introducing this world's version of Twilight, and I am of course referring to my personal favorite Equestria Girls movie, The Friendship Games. So, without further ado, I'm just gonna cut to the chase. Editor me, just roll the intro to the movie. Do I look preppy enough? Am I representing Crystal Prep? Friendship Games opens up with Sunset Shimmer running up to the stairs of Canterlot High School for an emergency that just turns out to be Rainbow Dash having a broken guitar string. Sunset gives her a replacement string, and the rest of the girls go inside to put on a bit of a show for the Cutie Mark Crusaders. Sunset stays behind outside to write in her journal to Princess Twilight, and while she's writing, she notices a strange hooded figure running up to the Wonder Cult statue, and she calls out to them, but before she can get to them, they run off and hop on a bus to the city. That is a very punctual bus. But it turns out the hooded figure was this world's Twilight Sparkle, that's right, the same one we saw in the post-credit scene from Rainbow Rocks, and is still investigating the strange goings-on at Canterlot High School from her basement lab at Crystal Prep Academy, the finest school in Canterlot. With one heck of a snazzy uniform. Okay, look, I couldn't afford the blazer, but the sweater vest will do, right? And while she's investigating her evidence board, we get the opening sequence for this movie set to a pep rally-like song, The Friendship Games. It gives me goosebumps every time. Daniel Ingram does not miss. I swear the man does not miss. Anyway, sorry. Lost my composure there for a second. We then cut to Sunset explaining to the other girls what she saw, but Rainbow Dash just rationalizes that whoever it was most likely just scouting for Crystal Prep in preparation for the annual Friendship Games, which is a friendly competition between the two schools that happens every 4 years. You know, it sounds like another special set of games that happens every 4 years, but Hasbro probably doesn't want to get sued because they really like suing people who use that word. CHS has lost every Friendship Game since the first one. I mean, yeah, I guess they are just better at everything. But Rainbow Dash has a plan for that, so they hold a pep rally to bolster school morale, where Rainbow Dash treats us to our first song of the movie, and it's an awesome actual pep rally song, and it works. It bolsters the school confidence, and CHS is now confident that the Wonder Cults can bring it home. But interestingly enough, Rainbow Dash ponies up during her performance, which typically only happens when they're playing their instruments. After the pep rally backstage, Principals Luna and Celestia task Sunset Shimmer with keeping magic out of the Friendship Games, since the last thing they'd want to do is have to forfeit because of magical intervention. And it is Sunset Shimmer's fault that magic is in this world in the first place, since she brought Twilight's crown to CHS and magic with it. If you couldn't already tell, this is Sunset Shimmer's movie. She has fully moved into the main character slot, especially since Twilight isn't present, or Princess Twilight isn't present in this movie. We then cut to Twilight at Crystal Prep, where she seems to be a bit of an outcast. And she's pretty much just season 1 Twilight. She doesn't know anything about friendship, and she keeps to herself and focuses solely on her studies. Dean Cadence comes in, and she looks alright, I guess. You know, I think I'm just starting to get a little numb to these designs finally. Like, my brain is just accepting them, so it doesn't seem as weird as Luna or Celestia, but again, I think I'm just getting used to them since I've been rewatching these movies so much in preparation for these videos. Dean Cadence informs Twilight that the principal would like to see her in her office, and along the way, Twilight sings our next song of the movie, What More That's Out There, which is a beautiful ballad and is what you would typically refer to in a musical as the I Want song, where whoever is singing it, be it hero or villain, is singing about what they want in life, their goals, their aspirations. And in this case, Twilight wants to learn more about the world because she knows that, well, there's more that's out there. Fun fact, this song was originally planned to be a duet between Twilight and Sunset Shimmer. It even went as far as to be recorded and storyboarded, but from what I could find, they reworked the original ending of the movie in order to allow them to make Legend of Everfree. So this song had to be reworked from a duet to a solo ballad, which I don't necessarily think is bad. It doesn't take away from anything, but from a thematic standpoint, I actually prefer the duet version because it really draws the parallels between Sunset and Twilight's character arcs in this movie, kind of yet again setting them up as dual protagonists. And maybe that was the point. Maybe they wanted Sunset to be more firmly cemented as the protagonist, but I don't know. I think it was a good idea to have it as a duet, but making it a solo doesn't really take away from the meaning of the song and its thematic purpose, so I'm just nitpicking. Twilight makes it to the principal's office, where Dean Cadence and her brother Shining Armor are waiting, along with the principal of Crystal Prep Academy, Abacus Finch, who I can't help but feel that name is a reference to Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird, but, I wouldn't know. I've never read it. We read The Great Gatsby in my class, so... Principal Cinch wants Twilight to compete in the friendship games since she is the best academic student Crystal Prep has to offer. But Twilight is apprehensive to compete in the game since she's not really that good with other people, nor is she that competitive. But Principal Cinch explains that since Crystal Prep Academy has won the friendship games every time they've been held, that Crystal Prep has a reputation to uphold. And she also, in no uncertain terms, threatens to have Twilight's independent study application denied. So, if you couldn't tell, she's the villain of this movie. Twilight agrees to compete in the friendship games and brings Spike and her magical tracking device along in hopes that she can sneak in some research in between events. She then heads to the buses, where we are introduced to the team of students she'll be competing with, headed up by professional gaslighter Sour Sweet. Yes, that's her real name, and it's a little on the nose. So to avoid confusion from this point on, I'm going to be referring to this Twilight as Sci-Twi, short for Science Twilight, I'm assuming, in order to help differentiate her from Princess Twilight and not cause confusion. Once at CHS, Sci-Twi's device starts going off, and she follows it into the school, where she is confused that everyone there already seems to know who she is and know her name. She also bumps into Flash Sentry, who is elated to see her, but she kind of just inadvertently curves him, and I kind of like seeing him get curved. Sorry, big guy. It's funny. She follows the readings all the way to the music room, where Rarity has ponied up due to her excitement over making outfits for the friendship games. And suddenly, Sci-Twi's device opens and sucks the magic out of Rarity, causing her to de-pony up. Sci-Twi then enters the room, and the girls embrace her. But she's really confused because she doesn't know who any of these people are. But before anything else can happen, Principal Cinch shows up and whisks Sci-Twi away and warns her that she shouldn't get too close to those girls because they might just be playing nice to get into her head, which is very, very unhealthy mindset to have. The girls can't believe that their world's version of Twilight goes to Crystal Prep Academy, but I mean, come on guys, it's really not that far-fetched. Pinky literally called it in the first movie. Sunset expresses her worries that if they can't figure out how to control their magic, that they might end up having to forfeit the friendship games. And it would be her responsibility since, once again, she brought magic to the world with Twilight's crown. Sunset then has the bright idea of going through the portal to talk to Princess Twilight directly, since she's still not answering her messages in the book. But as soon as she puts her hand on the portal, Sci-Twi's device opens and sucks out some of Sunset's magic, and the portal along with it. We then cut to the gymnasium, where there is a mixer going on between the students of both schools that's going over about as well as a fart in church. So, Sunset decides to confront Sci-Twi, but before she can get any answers, the other Crystal Prep students get in her face. And while they're arguing, Pinky whisks Sci-Twi away to help her liven up the party with confetti cannons and treats and lighting and music. And you know what? It actually works. The party comes to life and the two schools start intermingling and socializing. And Pinkie Pie is so elated that she ponies up. And of course, Sci-Twi's device opens and sucks the magic out of Pinky, causing her to deflate. But it also opens a small portal to Equestria underneath the bleachers that closes when Twilight closes her device. That's a little interesting. I'm sure it won't come into play later. The socializing and festivities come to an end when Principal Cinch gets up on stage and reminds the students that it is, after all, a competition. A little stiff there, but okay. Speaking of which, it's time for the first event of the Quadrennial Friendship Games, an academic decathlon set to the song ACA DECA, or Acadeka. And I'm gonna be honest, my dumbass thought that this was like supposed to be spelling out the chord progression of the song, and I tried writing it out for way too long before I finally realized that, oh, it's Acadeka. It's short for Academic Decathlon. I am not a smart man. The event consists of your basic stuff. Woodshop, home ec, spelling bees, and it all culminates in the final mathematic challenge with Sci-Twi versus Sunset. And Twilight wins, and Crystal Prep takes the first event, but they don't really seem too excited about it. I mean, I guess it is a given that we win as we are the superior school, but I mean, a little bit of cheering wouldn't hurt. But Sunset and the girls did manage to get enough points to move on to the next event and represent CHS. Also, it is just so funny watching her unknowingly curve Flash Sentry and him get all sad. Stick to horse girls, bro. It's clearly your strong suit. A Twilight once again follows her device, which brings her to Fluttershy, who helps her out by letting her hold Angel Bunny. And that act of kindness causes Fluttershy to pony up. Yeah, if you couldn't already tell, they pony up when they embody their elements. You know, Rainbow Dash ponied up because she was showing loyalty to her school, Pinkie Pie ponied up because she was planning a great party, and Rarity ponied up over fashion, and now Fluttershy is ponying up with an expression of kindness. Kinda makes sense when you think about it. Sci-Twi's device opens up and sucks the magic out of Fluttershy, causing more portals to open to Equestria, and then a Jackalope jumps through the portal, which causes Spike to chase it through the portals, causing him to get zapped by magic, which then gives him the ability to talk. And here I thought Kathy Westluck was just gonna get paid to bark this time. Fluttershy then informs the girls that Sci-Twi is going around just sucking everyone's shit silly style, just giving insane magical domes, Sunset Shimmer. The next event for the Friendship Games is then revealed to be a relay race consisting of archery, speed skating, and motocross. Ain't no way a public school can afford all this shit. Had to have been Crystal Prep that pitched in to pay for this stuff. We see during the event that Sci-Twi is struggling to hit a bullseye during the archery section and is getting mercilessly bullied by Sour Sweet, almost to the point where she's driven to tears until Applejack has had all she can stand and jumps across to help Twilight hit a bullseye, which then inherently causes Applejack to pony up and then get her magic sucked by Twilight's device. But Twilight manages to fall and her device opens, causing more portals to Equestria to open up, allowing huge carnivorous plants to come through and flood the motocross track, which almost derails the race. Rainbow Dash turns around to help Sunset Shimmer and the other girl, and in turn ponies up, and then distracts the plants while Sunset tries to win the race, which she does by a nose. Sci-Twi manages to get the device to close, shutting the portals, and then sucks Rainbow Dash's magic by accident. She's clearly not doing it on purpose. Upon seeing this and finding out that all of this was due to Twilight's meddling, Sunset blows up on her.
You're supposed to be so smart, but did you ever think that you shouldn't be messing around with things you don't understand? But I want to understand, but you don't. And worst of all, you put the lives of my friends in danger. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Yikes. A little bit of that mean girl still left in her after all, huh? The final event of the Friendship Games is a game of capture the flag. First team to find the other's flag and bring it back wins. And since both teams are 1-for-1, this is the tiebreaker and the decider. Principal Cinch and the other Crystal Prep students try to convince Sci-Twi to open her device and use the magic to win the Friendship Games, arguing that, well, the other side is clearly using magic, so why shouldn't we? And we get what is essentially our villain song for this movie, Unleash the Magic. Cinch and the Crystal Prep students push Twilight to use the magic despite her not knowing how it really works. And by the end of the song, Saitwai is fully ready to unleash the magic, pun intended, and use it against CHS to win the friendship games. By the end of the song, Twilight is convinced and opens the device, freeing the magic that she's stolen, which consumes her and turns her into a power-hungry monster, Midnight Sparkle, who then begins tearing holes in the fabric of reality to get to the magic in Equestria. A Sunset tries to reason with her, but she's unfortunately too far gone, until Sunset finally realizes what it is she needs to do, and uses the device to willingly gather her friend's magic and throws it to the ground, letting the magic consume her, turning her this time not into a raging she-demon, but into the beautiful Daylight Shimmer. And then shit goes down. Yeah, that's right. They start throwing down. And you wanna know why this movie's my favorite? Because the other ones don't have a fucking Dragon Ball Z beam struggle, okay? They seem to be evenly matched until Spike calls out to Twilight, causing her to falter slightly, allowing Sunset to get the upper hand. And I just love this scene. Because instead of blasting Midnight Shimmer into oblivion like the other girls did to her when she got consumed by magic, Sunset offers her hand to Twilight, telling her to take her hand because she knows what she's going through. She has been where she is now. She knows how enticing magic and the power it gives can be. But she defeats Midnight Sparkle, not with force, but with empathy and forgiveness, and offers Twilight a second chance, like Princess Twilight once did for her, bringing the lesson full circle. But Principal Cinch then tries to intimidate Principal Celestia by threatening to go to the school board about this, but they basically tell her, yeah, good luck getting them to believe that there was magical monsters and a talking dog. Cinch storms off with her tail between her legs, and CHS wins the friendship games. Saitwai decides to transfer to CHS to study the magic of friendship with Sunset and the girls, and Sunset finally realizes why they pony up. Yeah, it was pretty obvious, like I said. Roll the credits, except this time we don't get a post-credit scene setting up the next movie. We instead just get a really fun post-credit scene explaining where Princess Twilight was this whole time and why she wasn't answering any messages.
I'm so sorry I didn't get her sooner. I didn't get your messages until just now because I was caught in this time travel loop, and honestly, it was the strangest thing that's ever happened to me. Make that the second strangest.
Yeah, that season 5 finale was crazy, huh? For me, Friendship Games is the best Equestria Girls movie, and I know that might be controversial to some, and while I will concede that Rainbow Rocks has a way better soundtrack, it just lacks in the story department where I feel like Friendship Games doesn't. I mean, yes, I talked about how in Rainbow Rocks, both Twilight and Sunset are set up as dual protagonists, and how the Dazzlings are great villains and inversions of the heroes, but other than that, there really isn't that much to Rainbow Rocks. I mean, if the ending of Rainbow Rocks didn't already solidify Sunset as the main character going forward, Friendship Games is a whole movie that solidifies it. Saitwai is a great parallel to Sunset Shimmer in this movie, and like I said before, she's more akin to Season 1 Twilight, not being experienced in friendship. But the parallel that's established between the two is that their common goal is that they both want to understand the equestrian magic that is now in their world. I know I keep saying that Sunset became the protagonist at the end of Rainbow Rocks, but realistically, it's solidified in Friendship Games where instead of obliterating Midnight Sparkle like Twilight and her friends did to her, she decides to forgive her. That really solidifies Sunset Shimmer as the protagonist and brings her arc to a nice full circle moment. To steal a term from professional wrestling, it's where her babyface turn is really complete and she's now solidified as the good guy. Abacus Cinch is not as extravagant of a villain as the Dazzlings, but she still serves the same narrative purpose. And she's more of a manipulator and a gaslighter, working in the background to have others do things for her. Let me put it this way, if the Dazzlings are Mother Gothel, using their music and voices to get others to do what they want, then Abacus Cinch is more like Judge Claude Frollo, manipulating Quasimodo, who in this case I guess would be Saitwai. Somebody should draw that. That would be funny. Principal Cinch is a perfect representation of peer pressure, and I love her for it. She's just an unapologetic asshole who abuses her authority, all for the sake of maintaining her reputation. If you couldn't already tell by that doctoral thesis I just spouted about a children's movie that came out 9 years ago, I'm old. I really like this movie. You might think that since there wasn't a post-credit scene to set up another movie, that's it. It's a perfect trilogy. But like most franchises, they just can't stop at a trilogy and decided to pump out one more subpar movie. So join me next time as I look at the fourth and final Equestria Girls movie, Legend of Everfree.